Pokemon lovers, it is time for another special episode of Rating All Pokémon. We only have a few Pokemon left until we start with the Hoenn region, and you know, I was having a hard time putting them all in one video. So I thought, why not do a little special video on the legendary beasts? Because those guys are pretty cool. Hundreds of years ago in Ecruteak City at the Brass Tower and the Bell Tower, because of a lightning strike, the Brass Tower went up in flames, and very soon the rain came and got rid of the fire. 3 Pokemon were inside the tower at that time and they didn't survive the fire. But then legendary Johto Pokemon Ho-Oh came around and resurrected the Pokemon. No one really knows who the Pokemon were that were inside the Brass Tower when it got burned, but there are some speculations. But what we do know is that the Pokemon that were resurrected turned into Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Also known as the legendary beasts and the legendary dogs and the legendary cats. What are they? Let's talk about it. God. Before I start, I do want to look back on a video I did previously about the Eeveelutions in the first generation, where I also discussed a little bit of the legendary beasts. Apparently there is a myth going on that the 3 legendary dog Pokemon, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, are actually evolved kind of from the first 3 Eeveelutions. Now the theory is that the Pokemon who were in the Brass Tower when it got burned down were a Jolteon, a Vaporeon, and a Flareon. That would make sense because the typing is the same as the 3 legendary beasts. Now why would they turn into completely different Pokemon? I don't know, but the theory itself is pretty darn cool. Because you know, in Ecruteak City you also have these dancing ladies who all have a different Eeveelution as their main Pokemon. It's a theory, but it's a plausible theory if you ask me. And now we're gonna talk about the actual Pokemon. First comes Raikou. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm gonna call him Raikou. Raikou? Raikou. Raikou. Now Raikou is the Pokemon that represents the lightning strike that hit the Brass Tower. The Brass Tower is now the Burn Tower, by the way, in case you didn't know. Raikou is an electric Pokemon, which would make sense because of the lightning strike. Raikou has this thunder cloud on its back. Well, kind of. It looks like a cloud, doesn't it? That is what creates the electricity that Raikou uses to attack. Now Raikou is a really fast Pokemon that roars the Pokemon lands, and while it runs, it is as fast as lightning, and the sound of its roars are the sound of thunder. Now that shit is fucking sick. Also, let me talk about the fact that people are convinced that the legendary beasts are dogs. They're cats, man. I'm sorry. Have you seen Raikou? It is basically a tiger with a crown mask. It's a tiger. More specifically, a saber-tooth cat. Tiger cat. So Raikou is able to fly by creating really crazy ass lightning clouds. That shit's cool, but it can also run really fucking fast. Raikou may be based on many different types of lightning gods around the world, but what it's mostly based on is the Raiju. Now the name is also kind of similar, but Raiju is a lightning beast that represents thunder and is the is the companion of Raijin, which is also a Eastern god. The legendary cats have one thing in common, and that is that their names are derived of things that have to do with emperors. Raikou's name comes from Rai, which means thunder, and Ko, which means emperor. They are like the emperors of the lightning and the fire and the water or some shit. Cool as fuck. Next up is Entei, and I personally think Entei is the coolest out of all the legendary beasts. I don't know why, there's something about it I really like. It has a fucking handlebar mustache. There's nothing else I can say. That is the best thing. That is great. It's great. Entei is the Pokemon that represents the fire that was in the Brass Tower. It is a fire Pokemon. What? Yeah. Entei is kind of like a lion. It is pretty much based off the lion, but it also kind of looks like a Mastiff, which is a dog. But let's just disregard that. It's a cat. It's a lion. Done. Every time an Entei barks, a volcano erupts, and every time a volcano rises, an Entei also is born. So that would mean there's more than one Entei in the world, which is crazy. Then again, no, it's pretty crazy. Entei may be based on guardian lions called the Lions of Fu. You may have seen them outside your Chinese restaurants sometimes. A lot of Western people confuse them with dogs, call them Fu dogs. It's not what they are. They are lions, but they look kind of like dogs. But they're lions. Entei is pretty much a guardian, and that is really awesome. I love Entei. I think it is fucking crazy and awesome. And it's a lion. Entei has a headpiece that resembles a Entei has a headpiece thingy weird thing that resembles a Kabuto helmet, which Raikou also kind of does. It is this thing, they all have this little crown thing, and that would also make sense because of their emperor names. And Entei's name comes from Enten, which means raging heat, and Kotai, which means emperor. Again, blazing emperor. I like it. The last one of the legendary beasts is Suicune. Now, I remember seeing Suicune in the Johto anime, I believe. It was just there, standing on a rock. Ash saw it, I think, and then... Or was it Ash? Someone saw it, at least. And then it was gone. And that's what I remember. Suicune was on the box art of Pokemon Crystal, which is pretty weird, because it is the only one of the legendary dogs who's on the box art, and then there's Ho-Oh and Lugia, which is kind of weird. But in Pokemon Crystal, the story kind of was around Suicune. It was no longer a roaming Pokemon, it was just chilling somewhere. And maybe that's why. Suicune is the Pokemon that resembles the water that put out the fire in the Brass Tower. And of course, it is a water Pokemon. Now, I never knew how to pronounce its name. Apparently it's Suicune. I just never pronounced it until I found out how to. I just ignored it. I was like, this Pokemon is not for me. I can't pronounce this shit. Now, Suicune is a bit of a difficult one because Suicune really looks like a dog. A lot of people think it comes from the wolf, but it's actually based on the leopard. It has these leopard prints, but I'll get back to that later. Suicune has the power to walk on water. It is kind of like the Jesus of the Pokemon. That's a broad statement. I hope that will not turn against me one day. Suicune can also purify polluted water. It will make your dirty water clean. Useful as fuck, if you ask me. It's really useful. I'd like to own a Suicune so it could make my water clean. Suicune is said to be the reincarnation of the northern winds, and when a Suicune is near, the northern winds will also blow faster and more heavy, and northern winds. Suicune appears to be based on a lot of different mythological entities, but mostly it's based on the Killin, which is a creature that could take on many forms and was said to be able to walk on water, which Suicune can also do. Suicune's design is slightly based on the aurora phenomenon you see in the sky in some countries. I think that's really cool. I'd love to see the Northern Lights one day in my life. Suicune, I'm not a big fan of the design. Now, apparently it's based on the leopard, and that kind of would make sense because it has these spots on its body, which kind of comes from the Fujin, who wears leopard's skin on its back and is the god of the northern winds. Everything clicks, my friend. Everything clicks. The legendary beasts are cats, my friend. I gotcha. Sui's name comes from Sui, which means water, and Kun, which means monarch. Again, royalty. These beasts are fucking royalty, and I like it. Honestly, I wasn't gonna rate these Pokemon because I think they're too cool to rate. I personally never owned all of the legendary dogs. The legendary beasts are cats, my friend. I think I may have owned a Entei, but I am personally too lazy for roaming Pokemon. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. It's just a lot of effort, okay? And then when you open up the map and you see where it is and you close the map, it's not there anymore because that fucking thing knows you looked at the fucking map. How does it know that? How does it know that? I don't know. I give all the legendary beasts a 5 out of 5 because I think they're great. I also want to refer you to the Dex, who did a 3-part series on these guys, and I think it's super interesting. I'll link it somewhere. I don't fucking know. Next week will be the last episode of the Johto region, and then we're starting with Hoenn. Ooh, exciting. Exciting. I'll see you again soon, my friends.